So this is the final roundup video of the foam process that I did, just to point out anything I might believe to assist you. And what I found as I've gone through it, what I will say is, when you do flip the manuals over, use 2 batons either side. If you can just see underneath there, and it just clears it from, well, you can see the percussion switches there, so you don't want it, all of the weight resting on there. So just some thin batons, and then you can sit the manuals on them. So starting with the lower manual, to remove the cover you need to retract this rod which holds the wires down, which run from the lower keyboard to the upper keyboard. So that pulls out. Take the ground wire off. Screws wise, you've got 2 screws here which are different to the others. So you've got 5 screws which don't have washers, and then you've got 2 smaller screws which do have washers. So just remember that, maybe separate them into pots. Coming round the other side, the key box cover on the lower manual, all of these screws have washers, and they run all the way along, with the last one being just under the bus bar shifter. The screws that hold in the cable guide where for the preset keys, where it runs to the recorder board or preset, the preset panels on the back. None of those screws are integral to the removal of the cover. What I will say is, over time it was sticking a bit, so you might want to slacken these off. The bottom screws, there's 3 of them which have larger washers on, and then you've got 3 there with smaller washers on, so separate those up if you need to remove them, but you shouldn't need to remove them at all. Slack them off maybe just to make life easier for you, because it'll give it a bit of, make it a bit more pliable to get the cover off and on. I will say, go along with the screwdriver and just tighten up any screw that you see. Some of them weren't super tight, which I guess vibration over the years, because it has been moved and gigged and rented out. You may find you've got a couple of screws that aren't fully tightened, so just make a point of going all the way along. So that's the lower manual. Upper manual is somewhat less complex in getting the covers off, but you have got a few more things to take off. So it's a bit of a pig on the lower manual to feed the key box cover underneath the wiring harnesses. When you do take the cover off, I'll suggest you rotate it to like a pyramid shape, which gives it the lowest clearance, if you like, to actually smoothly remove it. And you need to watch that you don't come into contact with any of the resistance wires in the channel. The ones that actually connect to the contacts, they're pretty well inside the bin, so, but you need to be careful of this channel that runs along the top. So you just rotate it as you're pulling it out. It just keeps it away Another good tip as well. When you do take the cover out, when all the screws are out, obviously they'll leave holes at the bottom of the case, and the wires would get jammed in the holes, these wires here. So we put tape, just a bit of actually it's there, a bit of masking tape over the holes so that the wires didn't get stuck in any of the apertures where the screws go through. So that's a good little tip. Upper manual, you've got 4 screws for there, which are different to the rest of them, so they can come out. You've got a row of screws on the cover as you have on the lower manual cover, with all got washers on up until that point. And you've got 2 screws which are different, which hold that little tag strip down. And then you've got 2 small screws holding the coil down, then 1 screw holding that little bracket on with the resistor on. Now all of these aren't integral to the removal of the case. So once you've actually removed the coil and the resistor and the tag strip, you can just put those screws back in the holes again. It saves you using umpteen pots and potential of getting confused. So just take the coil, the resistor and the tag strip off and put the screws back in the holes again, because none of them are actually holding the case down. Same with those screws there, although they are quite long. So I would take those off and just put those in a little container. Once again, you've got the preset panel where the cable guide comes out of. Same thing again. I have got a screw. I've got 2 screws missing actually. They've obviously come out all the time. You got 3 screws there. Then you got 3 screws underneath. On top of the brackets, you've got 2 different screws. The bottom bracket on the right hand side, if you're looking at it from that aspect, that's got a brass washer, like an isolating washer on it, just at the bottom there, and that's got a longer screw in on that side. And then you've got just a standard screw on the lower bracket on the left hand side. I will mention the felts. It's a pain in the backside, the felts, when you get putting the covers back on, because if you don't get them snug, the cover won't sit right. So I found that just putting a wood chisel down there and just pulling the cover back, and this will ply. It's reasonably pliable, and then it'll just open up. It'll just open up a touch, and then you can get somebody just with a screwdriver, a thin screwdriver, just to get that felt and pull it up out of the bottom there, and then it'll sit snugly in there. Like I say, they are a pain on the backside, so you do have to persevere and just get that felt flat. Trying to think if there's anything else really that I came across during this. Matching transformer, that last screw there, it's a bit of a pig to get in. All I did was, if you just pull the top screw out of that with the matching transformer, that's the bracket, that'll just flip down. So that'll just flip down, and that'll give you access to that screw there to get that in. These screws here, these are the pigs. You've got to go in with a reasonably long, thin screwdriver between the bars of the preset, just to get some of those screws in, but it's not too difficult. Not too difficult. So yeah, I'm just going to tidy up this cable here. As you can see, I've got it reasonably. You've got a bar here, a little thin metal bar which slides along the top, which locks those in. And you've got, as you can see, they all sit in channels. They all sit in channels there. I've got those to tidy up, and then the bar will just push along and lock those in. Done a bit of cable tidying with some cable ties. So overall, it took longer than what I thought, but that's because it's well, it's not something you want to be doing for hours on end, because it would drive you mad. Apart from that, my lower back is shot, so it's a case of doing a bit and then just leaving off. My lower back probably is because I've been lifting things like Hammonds and stuff. So yeah, I'm fortunate. Like I say, I've got a room in the house where I can do it in the warm and not have to worry about going into a garage. So yeah, get yourself a nice table, a door you can shut, and just slowly work away. So if you've got any questions, let me know and I'll try and answer them. Some very knowledgeable people on YouTube, which I have gained various hints and tips from their videos. And it's the first time I've tackled this, and hopefully the only time. So it's interesting to video it coming from somebody who's not doing it either as a living or someone who's already done it multiple times. So so it is doable for the average person if you want to do it. Obviously there's people, especially in America, who will do the job for you. In England, there's very few. I mean, I'm not really in touch with who's out there, but I guess there'll be 3 or 4 guys who would probably do it at cost. But yeah, so I've saved myself a fortune by pulling this and doing it myself. So the next job will be to flip the manuals over and then refelt all the key beds.